I put my little armband thing, I cut it into a strip, give it a little bit of positive, kind of keep it up. I didn't realize that they need something a little more, how do you say, not porous, but what do you mean where it can grab it? I guess this is too slick. So, I mean, ideally they're supposed to be on the ground. So, like I said, next year maybe I'll just pick a spot in the yard and I'll just, we'll just make it a vining area. We got that whole yard that we could just pick individual areas. We could use the tree as a, well, no, if we're gonna leave it on the ground, it doesn't matter what, where we put it. So it's just an option. I was just thinking of, the vertical growing, but if we put it either by any of those trees, this is dead, so it doesn't, I mean, it's gonna be, it is what it is. I was gonna use it as a vertical, climbing vine helper type thing, whatever, trellis, whatever you call it. And that apple tree, I mean, it's just doing the same thing, but and I'm wondering if I just put some in there, if I'd even need to water the darn thing. That apple tree is just beefy. I mean, it must be in a good, obviously it's in a good place that it's, being fed and watered. The neighbor waters her stuff, so I'm wondering if, because we're on this bench, if it comes this way, so that's why my stuff gets, well, because I really haven't watered any of these trees since I've been here, a couple gallon. Now, when I was doing that one, I was trying to save it, so I put some 5-gallon buckets, from the dog water. What I do is I just, if it gets nasty from the sun, what do you call it, moldy or whatever, that green, algae. I just get in there and I bring it around, I put it someplace in the garden, and I just wash it out. And I use the water in the garden someplace, but I wash it out so I keep it clean. And I have that, I keep it cool. If it gets too warm, I'll change the water out so it's always cool for them. But once my battery charges, then I'll get that set up. Maybe put something vining. Like I said, we got a lot of potential. I mean, I could steal, this one's okay, it's only got a couple. I mean, we could steal some, there's 5 in there. I mean, that's just either 5 single melons. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5, and then smell good. So we could take one of those, put it on that rack and just let it just go to town, or put it on the bottom and just let it go on the ground, like, I've been wanting to try out anyway, and just see if it's less grief. I mean, if it's, because I don't know. I'd have to do a pot, like I say, when some of my container growing, I could put it over there. But now this kind of looks goofy, but I'm just figuring it'd look nice once it takes off, because it's going to have, maters, and then it's just going to be like however it wants to go. Just let it go. I don't care. I mean, so I mean, yeah, so I'm going to have a seat here and just think about stuff, but so, we'll see. But that's kicking butt. I got that changed again. I know I change stuff all the time, but I want it to be secure. I worry these guys say, well, if you don't do this, then you could have a problem later. And then they say, oh, we had a catastrophic. And, I learned a value lesson, and I'd hate to have that break off halfway or something. Yesterday, I think I messed up and I cut one of I thought it was just a little leaf, but I misread it. How they twist the gnarl, when they first start out like that, they're just a big gnarl up, above the ground. They're gnarly like roots. I mean, you can just see what I mean. They're just kind of going every which way. Well, I thought I was cutting just one of those little silly, side leaves. Well, I got in there, I looked and everything, it looked good, and I cut it, and I was like, cool. And then it started moving above my head. I'm like, oh, no, I didn't. So I took off about a foot of it by accident. It was one of the stringers, and they say you can, I need to do that. If I decide to just do 1 or 2 melons, then I need to go ahead and prune the crud out of it and take off all those other side shoots. Otherwise, it's gonna, it's gonna keep concentrating on that and not on the fruit. And I think I watched something last night before I went to bed, and it was, I want to say it was almost 90 days, I think, from seed to maturity, and he only had 1 melon. But he was letting other stuff grow, which I don't understand. If you got 1 or 2 melons that you're happy with, and you really haven't picked which one you want, then just start pruning, and then everything will go to those 2 melons, and you may end up falling in love with both of them, because the plant can sustain probably both of them, because it's not sending out, I mean, it's probably sending out stuff, but you're trimming it, so it's going to go back to fruit, isn't it? I don't know. I'm just, they say when you prune stuff, it goes, depending on which way you prune it, it sends more down. So I'm just thinking out loud, if you had 1 or 2 on there that you liked, and you just keep the others all pruned, don't lay any of those side shoots, so all the energy's going that way. I think, like I said, the one guy I saw do it, he had about 12 or 13, whatever, all set up and had like a fence protecting it, I guess from animals and stuff like you would do, like I'm doing here, but just from birds and stuff, I think, because it was like a mesh, but you could still see through it. So I was assuming it was, a bird screen type thing, so you could have them. But it was long. It was 4 or 5 foot long, and what I was reading was you can go a couple feet sometimes, before you put a bud out. But I think he just let it go too long. I think, and I don't know, I could be wrong, but if you just keep pinching off the new buds, or the new growth, keep the leaves, because I think you still need them for photosynthesis, I'm sure. And then you could just, because the walnut guy, like I said, you watched, it was weird, that 90 days, the whole vine just kind of incrementally died as the 90-day period went. You could just watch it go like yellow at the base, and then it just followed the whole. And he had it sitting in like a container on his deck, and it was on, I think it looked like it was on cement or something, because he had rocks. It said, like in the, what do you call it, in the captions, it said that he had rocks on there to keep it from the wind from blowing it. So there's no place for any of the roots to take. But it was, like I said, it was quite long. And I don't know if that's just where the fruit ended up, and that's why it had to be that long. So I don't know. I'm just trying it out. If it works, then fine. If not, no harm. So I get 1 or 2 melons out of the deal. I mean, as long as I get a melon, it would suck to be a wasted effort, like, what happens sometimes when stuff happens. But, like I said earlier, I just changed stuff, but I just worry about the catastrophic. I grabbed that, and I could hang on that, because it's on the branch, and then I have it wired. So all it is just sitting there, and then, so I think it's pretty sturdy. And then once it gets up there, who cares? I mean, so if it gets up there a little ways, the melons are going to come, that's not real bad. I figured if it did get up to that wire part, I'll just turn it. Either turn it around or turn it down. Because I think I'm just going to let that one grow, because it's just, it took off great, and I think it's an ideal location. Because right now it's catching the sun, and then the rest of the day it's just going to sit there and just, cook away and love it. And I so want to just set it on the ground, but I got to leave stuff alone. I'm never going to give them a chance to grow if I don't just quit messing with stuff and overthinking them. But like I said, next year I'll do some, draw up a diagram or something and just see. Because like I said, I want to switch up stuff, and I got to find out what's good to grow with the next time. Because I used to companion grow. I used to grow like corn and beans together, and then let them go up to stalk. This time I didn't really, like I said, I didn't kind of plan it. It was a spur of the moment. I went and grabbed a couple packs of seeds from the store that, and then I had some seeds, and I bought some plants, and then I've started a few on my own now. But, just not sure. Next, I'll have more time. I'll have, winter to figure it out, and I'm going to sit down and do all my seeds, and I'm going to set up. I'm worried about some of those seeds have a really terrible germination rate, so I don't know if I should, if it's too late in the year to try and germinate them now and see, because then they're just going to die, and I can't do that. So maybe I'll just go through inventory everything, right? Put it in those little boxes I was thinking about putting it into, kind of keep my inventory, and then go from there. Like I say, I've got some celery and I've got some carrots, and I'm thinking about, if I put celery in now, I think it'll make it. I hope it's not too hot, because it's still going to be a couple months before, 3 months before it even, I think 90 days or so before, it could start getting cold. But I don't know, I just gotta get off my butt and do something. So I'm just waiting on that charge. So it should be close, doesn't take too long, terribly long. Get that set up, like I said, then I'll put something on that. And we'll figure it out. I mean, I could do a mater. These are still available. This is getting kind of cool. A little Manatee on me, but this one's getting ready to, I'm going to have to start putting something on. I'm just going to shoot out a, what do you call those things, a stringer or a feeler. But I mean, it's just nice. It's like a tree right now until, obviously they do that until they turn, until the weight kind of gets them. But I forgot to take off that bottom leaf, but I do that. I don't know if it hurts it or not. It still stays green. I figure when they die, then, of course, you got to get them out of there. But just thought I'd check my zucchini getting along. So hopefully she'll just climb up this. Hopefully she'll climb up this little wannabe trellis. And I said once I get a string there, I'll do the same thing. I could put a string on here and suspend it, bring it out a little bit that way, and then it'll come. Because they're just using zucchini. There's not a lot of weight. I am concerned about that pink one. I just added that pink kind of resistance. That tape that I'm using for marking everything. I'm using this to kind of give it positive pressure, but I'm kind of concerned because I've got a couple. I got a Mama Jamma there. She just bolted, so I'm happy. That's a pretty good size. It's probably 2-inch nubbin, and there's one below it that's hasn't budded out yet. So if I can catch an open bud, I can probably pollinate it myself later today. You know, as soon as I can catch it open. But she's got, see, and that's the thing is, if I just stopped and started picking everything off and let that, I mean, I'd have probably mamma jamma spaghetti squash, but then I'm done. So I'm happy. I mean, she bolted on me, and it's looking good. I mean, that's not the right word, bolt. I just mean bolt as in it just took off growing. You know, you go through the longest time, you're concerned, and then all of a sudden she just goes bam. But I gotta go. 10.